All right, welcome back to misc. This is the show I do each and every Monday where I talk about what I've been reading or watching or listening to or just generally experiencing. And this week I want to talk a little bit about the entire Saw franchise. So up until this last week, I hadn't seen a single Saw movie in my life. And because of certain things that are going on, I am going to be seeing the new Jigsaw film when it is released here on Friday. So I decided to prepare myself and really understand why there has been so many films in this movie series. Now, spoiler alert here, I have not seen the 7th film yet. It's the only one I haven't watched. So I'll have to come back with that update later on. And I'm going to try and not spoil things too overly. So here's just a general overview. And I'd love to hear actually what people think about this series if you are into it, because the very first film, it stars Cary Elwes and the other guy that's in Lethal Weapon, Danny Glover. And it's a pretty solid B film. Like, I don't think it's a great movie at all, but it's an interesting concept. It's one of those things that I like when movies play around with location a little bit. They restrict their characters into really just one area because they're chained to the wall and they have to unlock the puzzle room that's been given to them. And so, as just an exercise of like unwrapping this mystery and having a bunch of false flags thrown at you, and even up until the very end, having the rug pulled under your feet where you think something has happened, but really that's not what has happened yet, because it's been leading you in these really interesting maze-like ways. I think that that's interesting. I do think that the character of Jigsaw, the villain of the piece, is an interesting villain in that he is trying to instill virtue back to people. He is not making it impossible for you to escape. He is giving you all the tools that you need in order to leave the room, but he understands that you have to make some sort of sacrifice. And in that case, he's not just going and grabbing people and killing them. He's giving them all the choices in the world to do what they can. And it's just up to them to decide if they're going to follow it or try and strike out their own path. And normally when they do and not try and work together, that's when things happen. This slowly devolves, I find, over the series. Once Jigsaw is, let's just say, removed as the main villain and other people come into the mix, which, by the way, this is some of the most complicated time frames that are going on. This isn't a huge spoiler, but there's 2 films, for instance, in this franchise where it's not until the end of the movie that you find out, oh, these actually have been happening at the same time. So specifically, I'm talking about 3 and 4. The 3rd movie is going on, and then when the 4th movie was released, at the very end you find out that movie 3 and 4 actually have been happening simultaneously. So it's an interesting kind of playing that they do with like time, and it's kind of like the Fast and the Furious franchise, where sometimes things are prequels, even though it's a sequel, and it gets all really convoluted and confusing. But in the more successive sequels that happen, they're really just there to punish people as much as they can. And it starts to take you really out of this franchise. At least it does for me. I think the first 2 are fine. And after that, they're pretty much just bad films. The only fun part is at the very end when it's revealed to you, this is actually what was going on. This is really the point of why all these intricate traps had been laid in the first place. But really, those traps in the later films are there just to punish people and to kill people in sequence. They're not there to test people or to make them be able to escape. And there's some blurred lines, I find, as far as morality, when there's certain games and traps that are laid that somebody has to die, that there is no choice for some of these people to escape, that they are just there to die. So that's not as interesting to me intellectually when I'm watching these films. Sure, I can lay back and enjoy them, but at the end of the day, it's just a whole lot of nothing when you see just a bunch of people killed off in successive ways. But Jigsaw, I still find, is interesting. His storyline that gets weaved through all these films is kind of the part that I like. Anything of the what's actually happening in the torture chambers is not all that interesting to me, to be honest. But his storyline that's woven through is intriguing, is enough to keep me wanting to watch and seeing how people escape and come into his lair and all that kind of stuff. So overall, like I said, Saw 1 and 2, worth a watch. I think the first one is solid. Everything after that is pretty much missable. You don't really have to get into it unless you really want to get into the storylines. But really, who's watching these movies for the storylines other than this Joker right here? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. What horror movies are your favorites? I'd love to know. And I will see you all again next Monday, where we continue talking about all the stuff that I've been consuming. And of course, on Thursdays are my regular vlog. So until then, I will see you on the internet somewhere. I'm stalking you digitally.